watch the stars on video for hours and hours. We hardly need to use our ears. Our music changes through the years. So don't you ever.
And good morning, evening, afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you're on and what time zone you're in. I'm your host, Skeptically Speaking.
And I'm Sweet Pea from across the pond. Sorry, I couldn't find my mute.
And we welcome you to another rendition of the Skeptically Speaking podcast. If you want more independent media in your life, please consider supporting the show. You can do it one of three ways: Cash App, Venmo, or become a Patreon subscriber. Links are down in the description. How are you doing, Sweet Pea?
I'm doing okay. I'm awake. I'm okay. There was a rude man yesterday, but I'm okay. How are you doing, Skeptically?
Slight little pressure headache right up here, but I think that's just due to lack of sleep. So I'm going to basically mimic the seal of disapproval on our background.
No, I'm sorry, but I hope you sleep better tonight. Would you like me to distract you with a toxic manosphere story?
Oh.
The sheer audacity of a incel?
Yes, and that's going to be coming up. Before we get to that, let's talk about all the wonderful places that you can find us. Well, you already know about the dark back alley of YouTube, but there are other darker streets and alleyways on TikTok, Blue Sky, Discord, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, Kick, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Substack, and last but not least, Upscroll, affectionately known as Up Yours TikTok. May you replace that repugnant site. Please keep on improving and getting better. I keep holding out hope against hope that Blue Sky will become like what TikTok is today. Not necessarily the store and the products, but just being able to do what we do on TikTok and be able to do it on Blue Sky. I don't ask for much. Just give me the world. So the Trump administration, of course, in their benevolent stupidity, basically following Project 2025 to a T in their attempts to make America white again. Naturalized citizens or citizenship is now on the chop block. They are coming after that, and they want to reduce the amount of brown people they let in the country. Yes, indeed. But before we delve into that story, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the incel on your mind today?
Right. Well, you remember a couple, last month, 2 months ago, I said the doctors kindly very much put me on a diet by my surgeon. But anyways, I needed a new sports bra because I did. I just needed a new sports bra. Well, I was looking at the sports bras in Lidl's, minding my own business, when all of a sudden I felt this hand on my arm, and this man pulled me closer to him and squeezed my arm and said in a low voice, "I will buy this for you if you let me put it on you."
He was actually going to buy you stuff? And all you had to do is let him put the sports bra on himself?
Not a fucking chance in hell that was happening.
Next time, get real close. Next time that happens, get real close to him and say, really freak him out.
basically, I asked him to remove his hand off my arm because he was making me uncomfortable and it wasn't appropriate to do that.
Oh, I got a
I
device for
then
that.
yes. I then found the store manager and I said to him what happened. So him and his cashier were listening and they were like, that is so weird. And so
Did
I
he
like
believe
done the
you?
rest of my shopping after well the manager did because he said he'd have a strong word with him and I said if he says anything else to me or anyone else I said you're more than welcome to go out, because I don't like causing problems even though he's the problem. I just wanted to do my shopping and I wanted to get out there as quick as I could.
Yeah, as one does.
So he said come find him if you know we see him again. So that man came around the corner, so I pointed him out. And I'm walking away, and like the manager said to the cashier, he's like, "Yeah, that is weird," and the cashier just like shrugged.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I done the rest of my shopping, and the cashier was checking me out when that guy was there. And all of a sudden, I heard his voice. So I just like kind of turned around, like, great, I'm gonna have to kick him in the balls and run now. And I like fuck my shopping.
Right.
I'm just gonna kick him in the balls and I'm gonna do a runner. But he said in a very loud voice to this woman. He was like, "Oh, it was a pity you didn't have any clothes, or I'd offer to buy them for you so I can put them on you." And she just kind of looked at him. And he said, "Oh, I did offer her, behind me, but I had to do it, but she refused." And the woman sort of by the side, she goes, "Oh, I wonder why that was." And just looked at him and shook her head. And like the manager and the guy who's checking me out couldn't believe that he's bold as brass, just like coming out and
Right.
saying that.
Propositioning
And, like,
you
I
right
looked-
in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then propositioning someone
And-
else.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the manager said to him, he said, if when you've said this to women, has this ever worked, you saying this? He goes, "No, it's never worked, but you never know, it might happen again." And I looked at him, I said, "Fast chance." I said, "Because you're bloody weird." I said, "What you say to women is bloody weird. You're a weirdo." And I kind of stamped my foot and kind of like walked off, but it kind of left the manager and the cashier giggling and the woman as well were giggling. And then I heard the manager say to him that if he did carry on harassing female customers in the store, he was going to have to ban him from there, which is a bonus because, like, you go shopping to do shopping, you don't go in there to like get harassed.
Right.
That was a day. I done a TikTok about it. I was still filming. The audacity of that man.
Yeah, I mean, and he's just so blasé about it. Like, it doesn't faze him that what he's doing is fucking gross.
Exactly.
Well, now you know what to do for next time.
Yeah, grab the item off the shelf and ram it up his ass where the sun doesn't shine.
That or have a knife with you, Either way. But anyway, this story is so reprehensible. It's interfering with my spice rum and Dr. Pepper.
I do apologize.
That fucking idiot. Well, he's been getting away with it all his life. I don't think enough people have told him no. So, yeah, ram his teeth down the back of his throat if that doesn't work. Nasty ass. Anyway, let's get back to our story. So they're coming after naturalized citizenship. That's great. Well, let's read all about it. This is going to be from NBC News. Trump administration working to expand effort to strip citizenship from foreign-born Americans. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services officials focused on denaturalization were sent to offices nationwide. The Trump administration is dramatically expanding an effort to revoke U.S. citizenship for foreign-born Americans as it works to curb immigration, according to two people familiar with the plan. Over the past several months, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the agency within the Department of Homeland Security that's responsible for legal immigration, has been sending experts to its offices around the country or reassigning staff members to focus on whether some citizens processed through those offices could now be denaturalized. The experts in question are just toadies who are going to do whatever the president tells them to do. A goal of emphasizing naturalized citizens is to supply the Office of Immigration Litigation with 100 to 200 possible cases per month. One of the people familiar with the plans said, such cases have typically been very rare, involving people who concealed criminal histories or previous human rights violations during their application processes. By comparison, throughout the 4 years of the Donald Trump's first term, the administration formally filed a total of 102 cases, according to the Justice Department. The effort is part of the overall push by Homeland Security to drastically curtail immigration and to deliver on Trump's policy agenda. The push has included DHS sending scores of immigration enforcement officers into U.S. cities on deportation missions and purchasing mega warehouses. Now, the DHS also increasingly sought to remove legal immigrants from the U.S. by revoking thousands of visas, including for some people who participated in pro-Palestinian protests and trying to deport green card holders. So basically doing everything they can to disqualify anyone and everyone that they can.
Do you know if Trump actually pulls this off? I don't think he's really thought it through, because he'll have to deport himself because he is an anchor baby. His mother was an illegal immigrant, so he's going to need to deport himself. He's also going to need to deport his son and his wife and basically the rest of his family, because they come from anchor babies. So,
well, it's funny you should mention.
He's an ass.
It's funny you should mention that, because here's a quote. We maintain a zero tolerance policy towards fraud in the naturalization process and will pursue denaturalization proceedings for any individual who lied or misrepresented themselves. Now, who do we think this applies to?
The first hole.
Yeah, Melania is the first name that popped into my head. As we know, they lied on her Einstein visa to get her in.
Yeah, there's no way that bitch has a peace prize.
Yeah, so this is the latest, extravaganza, basically making America white again. This is their hope to limit and be able to decide, cherry pick who they want in this country.
I don't know if you knew that, but that's one of the 3 stipulations of having an Einstein visa, is having a peace prize.
Yeah. And we all know that none of them qualify for that, but here we go. Now, there's a broad catch-all provisions that refer to any other cases that the division determines to be sufficiently important to pursue. So, Often cases go on beyond a presidential administration. According to the Justice Department figures, the Trump administration won 86 cases during his first term. During the Biden administration, 54 cases were won. I mean, what did we win? Now, of course, if someone is legitimately a rotten egg and they're involved in criminal activity, by all means, keep them out of here. But asylum seekers do not qualify for that. So, roughly 800,000 people become naturalized citizens every year, according to the DHS. To become a naturalized citizen, a candidate must be over 18, already a legal permanent resident, speaks English, knows U.S. history and social studies, and has good moral character, according to the Immigration and Naturalization Act. Foreign-born Americans were generally stripped of citizenship only if they were found to have committed fraud during their application. In past decades, those cases focused on ferreting out former Nazis who fled to the U.S. after World War II under false pretenses. Both Democrat and Republican administrations have sought to increase investigations, but it's still rare for a reason, a former U.S. CIS official said. So it's going to be an interesting next couple of years.
Interesting indeed.
Yep.
I think it's going to be very hard work, especially if Trump is left in office. I think it's going to be extremely hard.
Now, there are growing concerns that the DHS effort is more about creating fear and less about successfully stripping citizenship. Even if Americans swept up in investigations aren't prosecuted or convicted, the process takes a financial and emotional toll. They have to hire lawyers and produce documents. So basically, their goal isn't to do it the legal way, but if you harass a group of people hard enough, they might just self-deport just to avoid having to pay all of these exorbitant fees. I mean, not everybody can afford a lawyer. This is taken from The Hill. I rarely ever go to this publication, but let's see what their spin is. Trump's suspension of naturalization ceremonies leaves hopeful citizens in limbo. Interesting. President Trump's decision to suspend naturalization ceremonies is leaving residents across the country in an unusual position, now stuck in limbo after they were on the verge of gaining U.S. citizenship. Critics say the pause is the Trump administration's latest form of collective punishment for migrants who have seen their hopes of citizenship dashed following the deadly shooting of a National Guard member in Washington, D.C. On Thanksgiving, Trump said he would permanently pause migration from all third world countries in response to the shooting. You know, it's amazing to me. It's like, well, he never said that about South Africa, about white Boer people coming over here to the U.S. One of those South African white Boers, I think he killed his own wife.
What shooting is Trump referring to?
So there was a shooting that happened. I don't have all the details in front of me. But I believe it happened on a military base. But yeah, this is the whole idea, is to instill fear in others, to instill fear to the point where they'll just give up automatically and say, you know what, I don't need the hassle. I might as well just self-deport. That is what I think is happening. Could be. No, not a day ago. This happened. This happened last year.
Oh, okay. Because there's an army sergeant that's accused of shooting and wounding 5 people at a Georgia base that faces June court martial after he pled guilty to some charges. This was a day ago in
Yeah,
Georgia.
no. This happened last year. So naturalization candidates have been pulled from their scheduled citizenship ceremonies. I know this to be true because it happened to my constituents who have reached out to my office. This was Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois. They are rightfully upset that the administration has stopped them, individuals who are already approved for citizenship, from taking their oath of allegiance to this country. These are people who are already approved and are waiting to take their oath. Yeah, this is just beyond reprehensible. You know, they haven't committed any crimes. I mean, they're otherwise upstanding citizens in name only. Now they just have to go through the final act. That very well could be. Okay, so yeah, heartbreaking stories from people who are stuck in limbo saying, hey, we're still waiting. What's going on? All right, let's go to the Times. By the way, all of these articles that we're reading from, links to these articles will be in the description. You can read them and do your own research. Time magazine. Trump threatens to denaturalize U.S. citizens if they deserve it, quote unquote. So experts raise grave concerns about the future. When you have a madman in office and you've got a bunch of clowns running our government and they decide that it's deserved for whatever reason, maybe they made a post criticizing the Orange Julius.
I'll say again,
Orange
because
shit.
Trump is an anchor baby, plus he's a 34 times felon. Can we deport him yet, please?
I'll help.
Me too. I'll take his place. I would be a better citizen. I would be a better citizen than Trump ever could.
Yeah, President Donald Trump is seemingly trying to redefine what counts as an American citizen. This is what happens when you're not governed by rule of law. It's governed by whim of the dictator. He's not only ramped up his immigration crackdown, but also questioned the citizenship status of foreign-born U.S. citizens, sparking mass concerns over the potential weaponization of denaturalization. Trump has paid particular focus on Minnesota on account of the widespread investigations regarding fraudulent schemes targeting government-funded programs within the state. The president has used the scandal to target the Minnesota's Somali community and has accused them of destroying the state on account of some people of Somali descent have been found guilty of involvement with the scheme. So it looks like whatever scheme this was, they were investigated and were prosecuted for it. Referencing members of the Somali community, Trump confirmed this week that his administration is looking into stripping some Americans of their status. I would do it in a heartbeat if they were dishonest. I think many of the people that came in from Somalia, they hate our country.
Well, he needs to denaturalize himself and deport himself.
No one hates this country more than a Trump. Especially when they're held accountable for any of their misdeeds. They believe that they have the right to commit crimes with impunity. Although the Trump administration is actively looking into the criteria for taking away citizenship, the president did not specify the exact foreign-born groups that will be targeted. Of course not. We do know for certain those of Latin descent will be targeted. Somalis are definitely on that list. Yeah, so he is literally saying he is more than ready to start pursuing this avenue. Like I said, getting rid of the brown people. And his follower base is A-okay with that. This is far from the first time Trump and his team have referenced denaturalization. And they're going to go for it hard because they know their days are numbered. So they're going to get as much damage done. They're going to wreak as much havoc and mayhem as they can. So, yeah, this is what we have to look forward to, people. Look out for mass deportations. And this Time magazine is actually, it goes into a lot of detail of what it involves, what it looks like. So please read this in your spare time when you get a chance. Any further thoughts on that, P?
No, pretty much. Read the articles, do your own research, make sure you've got credible articles. It's important to sort of know all the facts before jumping into something. So
Yep.
I guess we will wait and see. But I think if Trump is going to denaturalize and deport anybody, I think he should start with himself and the first whore and his son and his whole family. Sorry. I despise
All
them.
of them. All of them. I wouldn't mind. Okay, let's switch gears here. Pam Bondi. Looks like she has been struggling for her life. It looks like Pam Bondi tried to save her job by trying to do one last sycophantic thing for Trump. Pam Bondi, in the last weeks of her job, decided to open up a criminal investigation into one of President Donald Trump's enemies in a last-ditch effort to win back his favor and keep her job as Attorney General. In an unprecedented move, Bondi assigned the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, which traditionally handles civil rights abuses such as racial discrimination and unlawful use of police force, to investigate whether former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson lied to Congress. Now, I don't know if you remember who Cassidy Hutchinson is, but she's the one who literally witnessed Donald Trump. She was basically a witness to Donald Trump's committing acts of treason against the United States when he was in his limo. Remember that during the January 6th insurrection? He wanted to be taken to a crime scene. And the limo driver said, "No, I cannot. It's not safe." And that's when Donald Trump grabbed him around the neck.
Choked with his baby hands, yes. I was about to say, tried to choke him with his baby hands. Yeah.
Yep. And he was a naughty boy and was not able to go to McDonald's after that.
I bet he had a ketchup fit. But speaking of Pam Bondi, did you hear that she is no longer willing to testify for the Epstein files next week?
That's next article, in fact. Yep. So in 2022, Hutchinson provided explosive testimony to, in matter of fact, I'm going to have you read that article when we get to it. I'm going to go ahead and have you open it up and ready yourself.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll let
the
you.
article by and where do I find it?
Hold on. Okay, there's the link in the show notes. So she implicated Trump in the deadly Capitol riot on January 6, 2021. Other witnesses later contradicted some of the information she provided, which Hutchinson told lawmakers she had received second and third hand. Despite some DOJ officials expressing skepticism that there's a viable criminal case to be made against Hutchinson, Bondi opened the inquiry in the past few weeks in hopes of getting back on Trump's good side. Trump nevertheless fired Bondi last week, in part because she had failed to indict and convict his political enemies. He named her deputy. He named her deputy Todd Blanche, who previously was Trump's personal lawyer, as acting attorney general. So I don't know if he's going to continue to go through with this. But that's ironic. Why don't you go ahead and start reading the article?
Okay. Pam Bondi backs out of deposition on Epstein files. Okie dokie. Washington former Attorney General Pam Bondi is backing out of a deposition scheduled for later this month, with the House of Commons investigating the government's files on child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer last month subpoenaed Bondi following a bipartisan committee vote in which 5 Republicans joined all Democrats to demand Bondi's testimony, but the Department of Justice is now telling the panel she no longer has to appear before them since she got fired last month by Donald Trump. Well, that's awfully fucking convenient. I swear they're hiding how much involvement Trump has got in the Epstein files. It is absolutely deplorably disgusting. He needs to be held accountable and face the consequences of whatever he's done. But let's continue. The Department of Justice has stated Pam Bondi will no longer appear on the 14th of April for a deposition since she is no longer Attorney General and was subpoenaed in her capacity as Attorney General, said a committee spokesperson. The committee will contact Pam Bondi, personal counsel, to discuss next steps regarding rescheduling her deposition. It's a curious excuse, as the committee previously issued subpoenas to every recent former US Attorney General, all of them except Bill Barr, who served as Attorney General during Trump's first term, issued sworn statements that they didn't know anything about the Epstein case. But Barr come in for a transcribed interview. Why can't Bondi? Exactly. Why? What makes her so special? What has she seen in the Epstein files that they're trying to keep covered? So much for the sort of party of transparency. A DOJ spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Bondi's firing may have resulted, at least partly, from Trump's frustration with her handling on the files of Epstein, America's most notorious sex criminal and a former close friend of the president. Epstein died by apparent suicide in jail when facing federal charges in 2019. Early last year, Bondi claimed she had Epstein's client list sitting on her desk, only to backtrack months later when the Justice Department issued a statement saying there was no actual client list and no evidence in government possession that could be used to charge anyone else involved in the Epstein crimes. A right-wing furor resulted in the commentary issuing a subpoena for the department's full list Full files on Epstein. Congress passed a law requiring the materials to be made public in a searchable database. Under Bondi's leadership, the Justice Department struggled to comply with the satisfactory deadline to release the files and admitted to mistakenly redacting some documents improperly, withholding others. Still, plenty of the material released during Bondi's tenure has been embarrassing for the president, including a creepy birthday message Trump wrote to Epstein in 2003, and FBI files recounting a woman's unverified allegation that Trump sexually assaulted her while she was a minor in the 1980s. Some documents remain hidden. In a Wednesday letter, committee members Ro Carrara, I can't even pronounce that, Ro Carrara, and Nancy,
Rokana.
thank you, and Nancy Mace urged Comer to make sure Bondi still complies with her subpoena. Leaving the office doesn't mean you get to dodge accountability. Exactly. I think that's the first thing I've agreed with Nancy Mace. Mace said in a statement, Pam Bondi was subpoenaed by name, not by title, and because the DOJ stonewalled Congress and refused to follow the law, she needs to appear before the Oversight Committee and answer for it. I wholeheartedly agree with that. She promised she would comply, added the Republican Congresswoman. April 14th is her chance to prove it. Chairman Comer must make one thing clear: show up or face contempt. I think all of them, any single one of them, doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, or they're Barney purple with blue flicking spots. All of them need to be held accountable for what happened in the Epstein files, regardless of who they are. Hold all their feet to the fire, hold them all accountable, and get them charged.
And instead of doing
that is the
that,
end of the article.
they're going after Cassidy Hutchinson. I mean, literally almost 4 years ago. So instead of actually going after crimes, they're going to go after Cassidy Hutchinson to see whether she lied to Congress. Which we know for a fact she didn't. We know for a fact she didn't lie, but that's besides the point. So 6 Democrat lawmakers with military and intelligence backgrounds who made a video urging members of the armed forces to follow military code of justice and not obey legal orders. These are the indictments they want. They want to go after Trump critics and enemies. Janine Pirro Box of Wine and her team have also failed to advance cases against former President Joe Biden over his use of an auto pen to sign presidential documents, and have hit a major roadblock in a case against the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell linked to renovations of the central bank's headquarters. They've got nothing. This drunken lush has... she is wasted. She is gone. She is inept. She's worthless.
I'm sorry, but every single president in the history has used the auto pen. There has never been a problem with presidents using the auto pen. Trump is trying to deflect.
Oh, did you see video?
Did you see that video? Epstein.
Donald Trump is at an Easter party for kids, and he's whining to the kids about Joe Biden using an auto pen, as if these kids know what the fuck is going on. Yeah, he's like, Joe Biden, he didn't sign anything. He only used the auto pen. And these kids are looking at him like he's lost his mind. Like, What
Yeah,
do you want us to do
he's
with this
used
information?
Trump. Trump has used the auto pen himself, and as president, he done a piss poor job providing any sort of entertainment for those poor kids. What he should have said to those kids is, "Are you looking forward to the Easter egg hunt?" They would have said yes. He would have told them, "Good luck, have fun, and enjoy yourselves, and have a happy Easter." That's all he needed
I
to
doubt
say. He didn't
I doubt any of
need to
these
say anything else.
I doubt any of these kids even know who Joe Biden even is. These are 6 and 7-year olds, you know?
Yeah.
So Hutchinson probe began when a Trump ally in Congress sent the DOJ a referral accusing her of lying to Congress. And now 29-year-old who served as an aide to Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows testified that Trump had encouraged the crowd that gathered to hear him speak at the Stop the Steal rally to march to the Capitol, even though he knew his supporters were armed and could turn violent. She also said she was told that after the speech, Trump demanded that his Secret Service agents drive him to the U.S. Capitol. When his lead agent refused, Trump cursed and tried to grab the wheel and lunged at another agent. Yeah, so hilarious if it wasn't so sad. But we've got morons leading our government. And these criminals, these career criminals, they don't care about prosecuting other criminals. So she's not going to appear. She wasn't going to appear anyway. But yeah, I just wonder if they can enforce a subpoena. Can she be
Yes, they should enforce it.
arrested or held in contempt? We'll see.
So the subpoena wasn't issued to her in her official capacity. It was just to her as like a person, if that makes sense. So I reckon that she should be held accountable and charged accordingly if she doesn't turn up. She should be held in contempt if she doesn't turn up. I do have another bit of news for you when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the ceasefire didn't last that long. It wasn't even
No.
24 hours.
Trump promised. He said
He
the
lied.
strait was open.
He lied. He lies more than Pinocchio. So Trump and Netanyahu broke the ceasefire not even 24 hours after it was done.
Is anybody
Trump,
surprised?
No, I'm not, to be honest. Trump put out a message saying that Iran needs to comply with the ceasefire or he's going to toast them, when it was Israel that broke the ceasefire. So I decided to flap my guns on Blue Sky, and I was asking everybody if they think, because Trump has a delusional state of mind. Trump threatening Iran to hold up the ceasefire when Israel broke the ceasefire and attacked Iran and killed at least 254 people and injured more than 1,165 in a single day, which would have been yesterday. And I do think that Trump and Netanyahu are war criminals. I really do. Nobody's going to change my mind on that. I think they should be charged with war crimes, and I also think they should go back and charge Tony Blair and George Bush with war crimes as well. But yes, I thought, I don't know if you heard, but the ceasefire didn't last. No, it didn't even last 24 hours. And Trump is doing the classic blaming Iran when it is actually Israel that done it. But more innocent people have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what we can expect. This is what we can expect. We are not an honorable nation anymore. I wonder if we ever were, if we ever have been. But we are definitely not the good guys here. Iran is protecting themselves against several aggressors, namely the United States and Israel. But don't forget, there are other Middle Eastern countries that have partnered with the US, and they're getting it as well, because if they have US bases in their country, they have now put a target on the backs of their own countrymen, their own citizens. And so their own citizens are going to be in even more precarious situation. They're going to be in more dire straits, because now if that base is anywhere near a residential neighborhood, that residential neighborhood can be targeted and will be targeted. Not specifically for that, but because there's a United States military installation there. And Iran is not trying to hit citizens. Iran is not trying to hit um, residential neighborhoods, but they will if they have to. Israel's finding that out real quick and in a hurry. So anyway, these were my thoughts. Gonna be a short. It's gonna be a short show today, but just wanted to get that out there. And do you have any other thoughts?
Do a lot of research. Go out, you know, speak to people in the neighbourhoods. Let's vote these fuckers out come midterms. You know, let's get them out. Let's see about putting someone who actually cares not only about the country but about all the people that are in it.
Yes.
You know, because like I have said this for years, and you know I have said this for years. What the American president does affect the UK and every other single country in a butterfly effect. Especially now in these days, what laws are going on in the US are somehow finding their way into the UK, and some of the laws that go on in the UK are finding their ways into the US. Trumpism has infected the world with a nasty virus, and we need to cut it out, because what is happening is not okay. This is a global genocide due to Trumpism.
Yeah.
We all need to band together and say enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Let's take. We need to get these people out because they are a danger. That's all I got to say on it.
Yeah. Well, those are my thoughts on the matter. So we have the midterms to get our heads out of our asses and to stop this blatant violation of law and order, this bastardization of the law.
Yeah, let's get these people out charged, and let's get Alcatraz up and running again. The more I think about it, the more I'm sort of up for that. As long as we can stick Trump and his cult there, I am okay with that. Let's stick Netanyahu, Tony Blair, and Bush in there as well. Let's stick all the
Absolutely.
fascist facts, the dangerous people. Let's all stick them in Alcatraz.
And with that, we thank you so much for joining us on the Skeptically Speaking podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please consider supporting the show. We want to start doing this full time. Cash App, Venmo, or become a Patreon subscriber. Links are down in the description.
Yes, and due to higher prices, we're going to stick a 25% off feet pictures just for our very, very few special viewers. I am joking, by the way. We don't sell feet pictures, but it's just funny to wine skeptically.
Might start having to.
Don't forget
You
to
first.
like, comment, subscribe. Oh, shit. That's a challenge. Nobody wants to see my feet.
And with that, we say good night to you. Good day.
Wake up, grab a brush and put a little makeup. Hide the scars to fade away. Why'd you leave the keys up on the table? Here you go, create another fable. You wanted to grab a brush and put a little makeup. You wanted to hide the scars to fade away the shake-up. You wanted to. Why'd you leave the keys up on the table? You wanted to. I don't think you trust in my self-righteous suicide. I cry when angels deserve to die. In my self-righteous suicide, I cry when angels deserve to die. Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. Father, into your hands. Why have you forsaken me? In your eyes forsaken me. In your thoughts forsaken me. In your heart forsaken me. Oh, trust in my self-righteous suicide. I cry when angels deserve to die. In my self-righteous suicide, I cry when angels deserve to die. Wake up,